I'm sure every single artist is slightly envious of other artists. But I wish I could paint like her. Oh my gosh, she's so talented, and look at her art, and it's got a beautiful style. I wish I had a style like that. But what I realized was that you're actually wishing you were somebody else doing somebody else's art. Well, what use is that? You want to wish that you're doing your own art beautifully, that your own art is authentic, that it's real, that it's a reflection of you, not a reflection of somebody else. But actually, you need to get back to who you are. And the best way to do that is to stay in your own lane. Hi, it's Ciara Gilmore here, and welcome to Light Between the Layers podcast, where we'll be talking all things art, abstract art, art business, and manifesting.
Amazing. And I'm Esther Magada, and I'm the producer for this podcast. So today we're talking about how to finish a painting when you're not feeling it. Discipline, flow, and intuitive endings.
Ooh.
So my first question is what role does discipline play in intuitive creation?
Well, I suppose like any skill, you have to show up.
Mm.
You have to show up consistently. And one of the ways that I got good at doing what I do is that I did it day after day after day, especially in the early stages. I did it a lot. And I didn't take big breaks. I kept building on my skills and my process. And that really helped me to get as good as I could get, really, at my painting in a short amount of time, because I really did dedicate that time. I was very determined, right? I'm going to really be the best I can be. I'm gonna create gallery worthy paintings here. I not only do I want them to be resonating with beautiful energy, like love and grace and compassion, but I also want them to be good enough that they can hang in a gallery window as well. Like I had a vision for what I wanted for my art and for myself. And one of the things that I had to do in order to achieve that was to show up on a regular basis. I had to, for me, it wasn't discipline because discipline for me feels like it's a negative thing. Like you have to do this.
Like punishment or something.
Yeah. For me, it was just, I committed to showing up. I was consistent and I did it and I loved it. And I could see that showing up was making me better. So then that made me do it more.
I think I like the discipline piece because we've talked about it before, where approaching art and your creative practice in painting, it's a very holistic approach. And when we said around discipline, there's something like it holds like a negative energy towards that word of like, is it a punishment? Do you have to show up? Da da da. But it's like it's a balance to me between showing up and pushing past the fear and pushing past the tiredness, but not driving yourself into the ground and, making
Yeah.
it feel unrealistic or like that it's a negative thing.
Yeah.
So I guess like for you, whenever you first started doing this and when you said like you referenced and you shown up every single day, were you all in at this point? Is this something you're
Yeah.
doing full time?
I think that in terms of showing up in the early stages, it was easy for me because I could see myself getting better. I'd already established kind of like a consistency from my previous work. I think whenever new artists get addicted to abstract, which they do very easily because it is such a beautiful way to paint, and it's hard for them to commit to the kind of the work and the time that's needed to get good in a certain amount of time. What I do recommend for new artists is that you set aside a time at least every single week that you are going to be creating. And I suppose that's a form of discipline. It, yes, maybe with a negative connotation, but it's that consistency that you need. And so instead of looking at it like discipline, it's more like this is time for you. This is time to be prioritized for you. I always tell them to tell their families that this is your time. Don't interrupt it. and guard that time, ring fence that time like it's so important that you're not going to cancel it because you need to go do the shopping or do something else.
Mm.
You have to hold it in high esteem
Mm.
this time. And again, like I suppose the word devotion is a bit strong, but you're 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 kind of like you have this time and it is so special that you will not let anything cut into it.
Mm.
And if you've got a family and if you've got another job and if you've got all these things going on, it's very easy to say, well, I'll let my art slide. I'll let my painting, time slide. But you shouldn't.
Mm.
That needs to be given the respect it deserves.
Mm.
You need to cut something else and
Mm.
keep doing that at least every week, every day if possible, or even if you can't do it every day or every few days, always have a sketchbook somewhere where you can be scribbling or playing or doodling or just doing something creative or writing down ideas, taking photographs, writing titles for paintings. Every type of like little creative thought is still part of the whole process, whether you're showing up with paintbrushes and paints.
Mm.
It's a whole journey from start to finish. Because obviously you start with your inspiration as well.
Mm.
You
And it's
don't-
constantly engaging with it so that there's more of it instead of like that sense of abundance only comes when you pour into it,
Yeah,
rather
yeah,
than it just being like a haphazard,
yeah,
just been here one
yeah,
day a month and then you're confused on why you're not making
yeah.
any progress.
Yeah, and also the more you do it, the more it becomes natural and easy and normal and acceptable to
Mm.
the rest of your family. We're not going to interrupt mummy because Friday at 7 to 9 is her painting
Mm.
time or whatever the time is. I think that people artists find that hard when they're
Mm.
juggling so much. I do think that they do find that hard to find the time, but it is important to do that, especially if you want to develop this further and
Mhm.
create part-time income or go full-time. It is important to give it the importance that it
Yeah.
really deserves.
And did it help for you calling yourself an abstract artist at that time to then take it seriously? Because there's an identity around, like,
Yes.
because some people can maybe just feel a bit silly of like not claiming that word for themselves, so therefore
Yeah.
they don't take their practice. Do you
Yeah.
see a correlation between that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially whenever you're starting out in abstract and you say, oh, I'm just doing it as a hobby, just doing it a little bit of fun. No matter what you're doing it for inside your head, do call yourself I'm an abstract artist. And if you happen to sell something, well, then you're a professional abstract artist.
Mm.
You're selling, your paintings. Having that identity is just creates such a shift in everything that you do related to your painting and your process and your thoughts and your beliefs.
Mm.
Knowing that you are fully fledged abstract artist, no matter where you are in your
Mm.
journey, because I always say everybody who's an expert was a beginner once.
Mm.
And when you're a beginner, you can't quite believe that you're ever going to get to the stage here. But I was beginner once and my abstracts were rubbish. And now they're pretty good. And I love them anyway. Obviously art is very subjective. So you either like them or not. I don't really care. But,
Mm.
um, but it's a journey and you gotta like just embrace the journey at whatever stage you're at
Mm.
and stop comparing yourself to others because that's a notoriously common thing amongst beginner artists saying,
Mm.
I'm not there yet. I'm not like such and such on Instagram. Well, no, you're not because you've just started. So give yourself the time and the space and the discipline to
Mm.
to learn and to grow and to immerse yourself in this beautiful painting medium and just allow it go on the journey and stop trying to get to an end point because if you're a creative in any way, I believe there is no end point. You just keep creating and creating. Being an artist, you just keep painting and painting. It's not like you're going to suddenly reach
Yeah.
some type of
Yeah.
imaginary,
And you
you know.
organically reach the different levels
Yeah,
without this set push and force.
yeah.
And how did you like, because I always hear don't compare yourself and like, but how did you do that? Like, did you ever compare yourself and how did you get out of that to then just
Yeah,
focus on your path? Like, what were your
yeah,
tangible?
I did, and every artist who's I'm sure every single artist is slightly envious of other artists. But I wish I could paint like her. Oh my gosh, she's so talented, and look at her art, and it's got a beautiful style. I wish I had a style like that, and blah blah. Blah. But what I realized was that you're actually wishing you were somebody else
Mm-hmm.
doing somebody else's art. Well, what use is that? You want to wish that you're doing your own art beautifully, that your own art is authentic, that it's real, that it's a reflection of you, not a reflection of somebody else. And yes, you see people that are supposedly further along in their journey, but how do you even quantify that? What's their journey like? How have they been doing this for 30 years? They're better than you? Well, yes, because you only started last week. You know, don't do it,
Mm-hmm.
because whenever you do it, you can get inspired. If you've got discipline, you can be
Mm-hmm.
inspired to just be inspired by the artist. But very often you kind of thinking, oh, I wish I was like them. I wish I had as many followers. I wish I had sales like them. I wish I could paint like them. But actually, you need to get back to who you are. And the best way to do that is to stay in your own lane. And I say this to all my students: stay in your own lane. Stop looking at shiny things over there and shiny things over there. Focus on you, focus on your journey, focus on where you're going. Tap into your own inner voice, practice in your own studio, and stop looking at what everybody else is doing, because you'll go off there and you'll start doing this technique because you saw that on YouTube, and then you'll get totally distracted from what you need to be doing, which is finding out as an abstract artist what you want to do, what lights you up, what inspires you, what is it that you want to tell through your art as a story. Because every painting tells a story. And if you're too busy distracted by, such an artist and trying to copy her techniques or copy her style, it's actually setting you back.
Yeah.
It's setting you back because you're not actually finding out, uncovering what it is that or who you are as an artist, what your signature style is, what your voice is, and what that looks like in paint and in marks and in paint strokes. Because ultimately that is what you want as an expressive abstract artist, is to have a style that's very much you. People will say, I recognize that. That's such and such. But when you're busy copying your woman down Instagram, it's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized with some self reflection that every time I looked at other artists' work on Instagram, it made me feel low. It made me feel like I wasn't enough. And so when I realized that that's what it was doing, I just stopped doing it.
Mm.
So you'll probably see in my Instagram, I don't follow a lot of
Yeah.
artists. I don't. I only follow my friends. And I don't want to see what other artists are doing, because I need to focus on what I need to do, because my journey is very unique to me. And it doesn't matter what they're doing over there, whether they have a Black Friday sale or whether they're having an exhibition or they're doing this massive fair somewhere. Because if I look at them, I go, should I be doing that too? And no, I shouldn't be doing that too, because I need to do what I need to do.
Yeah. And it's that word should as well
Yeah,
that gets in the way of like you're putting this external pressure on yourself of like how you think this trajectory should go.
yeah,
And it's a distraction.
yeah,
And when you're trying to constantly get sources from other people and then you're
yeah,
diluting your own voice or you're so confused on what it is you actually think as well.
yeah. Because every artist has a very individual journey. It's not going to look like anybody else's journey.
Mm.
Your journey is not going to be the same as somebody else. They're maybe going to be putting their art on mugs, and that's not going to suit your art. So don't start putting your art on mugs if it's not what your brand needs or wants or suits. This person's going to be selling mainly prints, and this person's going to be selling mainly originals or doing commissions or doing massive works for corporations or businesses. every artist's journey looks different. And I think that it's important to understand that. So when you're off feeling really bad that you haven't done art on mugs because Mrs. Instagram said she's doing that and she's made like 10 grand just by doing that, that doesn't mean you have to do it too. So it's about just sticking to your own. Well, thank you very much for joining us again. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.